Got it.
Today. My name is Reverend Rhona Segarra. That is the first time I have said those words, everybody. And here comes my favorite person to turn my microphone on.
You're buried underneath there. Wow. There we go.
Let's see how that works. It's been too long, Richard.
It has. Welcome back.
I am back. Yes. It has been a remarkable couple of weeks for me, and I'll share some of that with you. But I just want to thank you so much for the wonderful welcome when we pulled up this morning and there was a sign saying, "Welcome back, Reverend Rhona." And then coming into the hall today, it was just warmed my heart and opened my heart so much. Thank you for all who decorated the hall and put the balloons up and put the sign up. It was a beautiful way to come home. So thank you. Let's just take a moment and open in prayer. I feel like normally I talk about the unity movement. And I feel today we need to just ground in prayer first. Take a moment to rest and relax in this place and give thanks. Give thanks for this community of love and support, of acceptance, a place where we can laugh together, sing together, learn together. The unity movement teaches spiritual principles for full and abundant living. We're growing, each one of us. And we draw and give thanks for the teachings of our way shower, Jesus, our example, the exceptional example for us to follow. We know that there are many names and many faces and many paths to the understanding and appreciation of one power. That power that some call God, others call Allah, Yahweh, Gaia. Life, nature, consciousness, by whatever name we have for that divine creative intelligence. We know that we are one with that intelligence because there is no place that God is not. And it is from this knowledge, this intelligence, and this power that we send a blessing of love, of peace, and of joy to every being on this planet, regardless of outer differences, regardless of race, of creed, of political ideology, of ability, of age, of gender identity, of who we choose to love. We bless all. All are welcome here. All are celebrated here. And it is in this knowledge and in this power that we give thanks and say, Amen. Amen. So, a couple of weeks ago, I went for my final license ordination interview, and that was followed by 4 days of an intensive program of mediation skills, which was life-changing. And then on Monday, so June the 17th, the day after Father's Day, I was privileged to be ordained at Unity Village. First, I graduated. So there's a bunch of the powers that be standing on the stage, sitting on the stage, followed by me receiving a Master's of Divinity designation. And I know that there were a bunch of you who were here watching it live, and I found that to be so exciting. Then after the graduation portion of the ceremony was the ordination portion of the ceremony. So they have two. You can't be ordained until you've actually graduated. So even though it's all happening at the same time, it has to be done in a certain order. So the graduation has to happen first, and then the ordination occurred, and I was ordained officially by Reverend Donna Johnson, who is the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. There were 4 people from my class at Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute, and then I think another dozen from the Unity Urban Ministerial School, who work out of Detroit, but are also an online program. And then a couple of people who were ordained in the field and were part of the field licensing program. And then there were 2 people who were ordained who came from other countries. One from Australia and one from somewhere in South America, and I don't recall. But there were these 4 paths that came together, and we walked as one in this ordination process. And there were some things that made this, which by definition is something I'll never forget anyway, but that made it even more special. One was knowing you were here watching. The other, well, there's Reverend Vicky Vanderhorst, there's me leaving with a big grin on my face. The other is that I was so blessed to have my beloved husband, Walt, with me, my sister and my mom, who surprised me by the day before I left by letting me know that they were going to come, and that was such a gift. And then Alexandra from our own community, and on behalf of Unity of New Westminster, came into town a little early for the convention that she was planning to attend so that she could be with us as well. And that just was like the little cherry on the icing on top of this beautiful love fest that I received. So it was a beautiful moment, and one I will never forget. Let us stand and sing. God's love is deep within.
Deep
One other thing I wanted to share with you is that Reverend Vicki Vanderhorst, who will be joining us next week from Comox Valley, and who has been my spiritual mentor throughout this process, along with Reverend Joy Young, who is sitting at the back today. Thank you for being here, Joy. Joy has been a part of my journey from many, many years ago, and it's really a blessing that you are part of my life. Thank you. Reverend Vicki Vanderhorst presented me with this Bible, which was purchased and gifted to me by Unity of New Westminster. And so I wanted to let you know that this means a great deal. Thank you. So as if that wasn't exciting enough, right after the convention, right after the graduation and ordination, I got to attend Unity People's Convention that they hold every year. And this year, the theme is One Humanity, Many Stories. And there were some brilliant speakers, and I'll share one of their speakers' stories with you. But here's what they say about this idea of one humanity, many stories. Sometimes it is said that if you knew another person's story, you couldn't help but love them. Each of us has known hardship and heartbreak, just as each of us has known joy. Some people have overcome unimaginable adversity, while others seem to have been blessed with all a human being could ever want. Yet a greater story overarches them all. We are all one. Despite the appearances of separate bodies, individual personalities, and different pursuits, we are one humanity. Like a prism divides light into a rainbow of colors, we humans express God in infinite ways. One God, one humanity, many stories. We all have a story, don't we? We all have things that have brought us to where we are here today. And at this conference, they had 3 keynote speakers who each spoke about their story and where their story has led them, where the pain of their story was, as well as where the overcoming and the gifts within those stories were. And I want to share the story of Maggie Cook. The keynote speakers were Brian Andreas, David Lewis Pert, and Maggie Cook. Maggie, shown here on the left slide, on the your far right, that's what I'm trying to say, was born in Mexico, raised in a Mexican orphanage with 68 of what she calls brothers and sisters. Her brothers and sisters were all the children in the orphanage. And they often didn't have enough food to eat. So Maggie learned how to use a knife and how to go into the woods and trap food, which she then could bring back so that the children could eat. She had this dream of becoming a basketball player. And she practiced and practiced and practiced and eventually made it to the Mexican women's basketball team, thinking that this would be her way out. And then just a few weeks before the team was supposed to leave and get on their tour, she was playing football with her brother, fell funnily, and broke her collarbone. And so she was sharing how when that happened, her coach came to her and said, "Your dreams are gone." And she said in that moment, she realized that she didn't have to believe that. And so in that moment, she decided not to accept that opinion and instead to think and choose differently. So she set about getting her body healthy again, continuing to train and to play and to be as active as she possibly could, not knowing where that might lead her in the future. And then she and her brothers and sisters had the opportunity to go on a bus trip into the United States. And they stopped for a rest break. And there was a park with a basketball field. Basketball court, I guess. And she and her brothers and sisters started to play, pick up basketball. And a scout from the University of Charleston was watching. And the scout said, "I want that person on my team." And so she ended up immigrating to the United States with a full scholarship to the University of Charleston. Isn't that awesome right off the bat? She graduates from university, but can't find a job. So she ends up living in a van until the van explodes, and then she ends up living in the woods, homeless. But she's resourceful. She knows how to find food. She's done that all her life. Somebody recognizes her and invites her to stay with them. And then she enters a contest for making salsa. She wins. Somebody gives her $800 to start her own business. $800. So she makes a little bit of salsa. She goes and approaches every single grocery store she can think of, makes a list of all the grocery stores. She starts at, the guy on the corner and so on, and nothing works. Because at the time, salsa was all cooked and then sealed into jars. Her product was a fresh product and nobody even knew what to do with it. So she goes through and she said, by the time I hit rejection number 90, I thought, I gotta do something different. So in desperation, she decided to upend her list and start at the biggest one first. So she called Whole Foods. And Whole Foods said, come and see us tomorrow morning. And then, of course, she had to panic because it was a 9-hour drive away and she didn't have enough product and she had to pull it all together. And the long and short of it is, within a week, she had her products confirmed for Whole Foods. And within a couple more weeks, her product was in Whole Foods. And 4 years later, she sold her company to Campbell Foods for $250 million. $231 million. Her company was Maggie's All Natural Fresh Salsa and Dips. And you would think that just based on that would be enough, right? You could just kind of rest on your laurels. No. She decided instead, once she had that money and that resource, to do something good. So she went back to Mexico and rescued 31 children who were prisoners, essentially, of the cartel and sex trade. She rescued other children who had been abused and brought them to the United States, and I believe has adopted them. An amazing person with an amazing story. And one of the things she said that really struck me is a quote that she shared that Mark Twain said, which is, "The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why." I wasn't expecting that. I'd never heard that quote before. I was waiting for it to be the day you die. So the idea of the reason, the most important thing being the day you find out why, just hit me. And I realized that the power that Maggie shared was the power of imagination and will and strength that is within each of us. But how often do we believe that we're victims of our circumstances? How often do we think, I can't do this? Somebody said I couldn't. She said the number of people who told her to just give up, caring about her, believing that that was the right thing for her, was huge. Anybody who cared about her said, you know, you're putting yourself through all kinds of pain. It's not going to work. Give up. And with those powers so strongly entrenched in her, she refused to accept no for an answer. And then I started to wonder about how many times we, all of us, have allowed that to happen for ourselves. How often have we been told that we can't, shouldn't, might as well give up, too little, too much, not worthy. I went on a little hunt of people who might have been told those things as well. First one. This person, this is like throw out your answer if you know. Fired from the Kansas City Star newspaper in 1919 because his editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Walt Disney. Isn't that cool? Here's another one. She dropped out of college, moved to New York, took a job at Dunkin' Donuts in Times Square. She apparently didn't last a day. And the final thing that got her fired was when, apparently, she squirted jelly filling all over a customer. Any ideas?
Oprah? Oprah?
Madonna.
Oh my God.
Oh, Madonna. Next one. After a performance at Nashville's Grand Ole Opry, he was told by the concert hall manager that he was better off returning to Memphis and going back to his former career driving a truck. Elvis. And we go on and on. I have a few more if you care. Why not? It's fun. They're interesting, aren't they? Worked at Western Union, where he used to secretly conduct experiments, and then he spilled some acid, it ate through the floor, and so he was fired. Thomas Edison. He dropped out of Harvard, started a business with Paul Allen called Trafodata. It flopped. Luckily, when they tried their hand at business again, a new company was born.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yes. Cool, isn't it? I think these are so interesting stories. There was an evening news reporter got fired because she couldn't sever her emotions from her stories. Fired from Baltimore's WJZ-TV. Oprah. Yeah. Didn't speak until he was 4, didn't read until he was 7, was expelled from school, was not admitted to high school and to the Polytechnic school. Eventually he came around.
Einstein.
Yeah, Albert Einstein. I have 3 more for you. This person was rejected from the University of Southern California School of Theater, Film, and TV 3 times. Rejected 3 times. He was eventually accepted by another school, and then he dropped out to pursue directing. And finally, 17 years ago, in 2002, he completed his BA. Steven Spielberg. This author's most renowned book, his first, was rejected 30 times. He decided to throw it in the garbage. His wife retrieved it from the trash, convinced him to resubmit it. Stephen King. The book was Carrie. I can't imagine my life without Stephen King. Last one. He was cut from his high school basketball team. He once said, "I've missed over 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. On 26 occasions, I've been entrusted to take the game-winning shot, and I have missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Michael Jordan. So, the question becomes, what are the stories that we've told ourselves? 3 years ago, 3 years and 3 months ago, my intention was to own a business and to be a minister one day sometime in the future, when the business was solid enough and running enough that I could take time out to go to school. 3 years ago, that whole picture got upended in a tale of betrayal that hurts me still today. And I don't think it ever will not hurt at some level. Because along with that betrayal, I lost friends, I lost a sense of income, a sense of security, a sense of where I was going and knowing where I was going. And it was all upended. And that upendment has led me to be here with you today, 3 years later, many tears later, much internal work later. What am I here for? What is mine to do? And I invite each of us to ask that question. Because what I know is that stuff happens. And that stuff, you can insert your own S word in there. That stuff can be really unpleasant. And we can choose to hang all of our energy on that unpleasantness. and carry it with us like a ball and chain. And we have another option. And that other option is to recognize that unpleasantness, whatever it might have been, and realize that there are diamonds in the rough in the midst of that story, whatever it might be. And then to be able to mine those diamonds. Pick the gems of the stories that have brought you to here, and shine them up and polish them and refine them until they shine brilliantly. Each of us has a story. Those stories have helped to shape who we are, both the things that trigger us and the things that delight us. Each of the people we've interacted with in our past has had a story. Our parents, our teachers, our ministers, our religious leaders, our political leaders, they've all had stories, and their stories have all shaped their worldview. And so our goal is to examine our own stories and the assumptions and stories we've made about those stories. If you've had something that has been very, very painful in your life, I'm honored that there has been pain in your life. And I invite you to dig for the truth that is hidden in that pain. Your parents, their parents, have all had stories that have created the way they've treated you and the way you have treated others. And our goal is to find the gems. What if you could believe that where you are now is exactly where you need to be? That all of the experiences that you've had are exactly the experiences you've needed to grow into the person you are now? And what if, because you believe that, you can step into a new story? A story that helps to raise the people around you up, that makes somebody's day. Then you'll be on the path to finding out the day that you know why you are here. Stories, they're all in our heads. We can change them. We can transform them and find those gems. If I knew your story, I couldn't help but love you. Because there's compassion and understanding and wisdom and space if I understand your story. Let's take this idea into a time of quiet. Let these thoughts, these ideas, these stories resonate now in our hearts. Let us consider the path that we have taken to bring us to here. What stories have we told ourselves that no longer serve us? About how we were treated, about the wrongness of what has happened to us. And let us instead seek the gems within those experiences. In Romans, we are told that all things work together for good. And in Genesis, we are told that what man intends for evil, God intends for good. What is the good that you bring? What is it that you came here for? As we move into a time of silent reflection, let us feel the energy vibrate around our entire being as we remind ourselves why we are here. I choose love, compassion, and peace.
beautiful as usual. I'm Ryan Dellingham, and I am here to tell you what's happening at Unity this week. So first of all, in June, we hold in prayer these two Unity churches, Unity of Vancouver, BC, and the Unity of London, Ontario. Our food bank is always accepting donations. Even though the basket is full, it never really is. So you can actually donate anytime that you feel like, and it looks full, but like I said, it isn't really that full. Okay, Unity of Canada 2019 conference. The Gift of Quitting, Unity Canada 2019 conference. Time to register is now. It's held between September 24th to the 28th, 2019 at Unity Village, Missouri. There's $425. Includes conference and food, special hotel rate of $119 US denominations per night. So today, our prayer chaplain after service is Merlin Dicuna. Sorry, Merlin. Marilyn Monroe. Okay. Is that better?
Merlin the magician.
Yeah. Okay. And Tuesday, June 25th, is mindfulness meditation that will be held in the hall area. So if you'd like to join that, please come, as all are welcome. Thursday, June 27th, the 11 a.m. is prayer circle time. And after that is at 11:45 is a bag lunch and book study on the book called Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth. On Sunday, June 30th, it's 10 a.m. choir practice and the ordination and celebration of Reverend Rhona Segarra. So then again, there's a nice new poster for you all to see. Okay, so now, if you can right now, just take those gifts that you brought today and hold them in a place of honor and to your heart if possible, and let's sing along together.